when I started losing words, like where a word that I knew should be, it was just blank. And I was completely freaked out that I was having early signs of Alzheimer's. Yeah, it was super scary because my mom has Alzheimer's. This video is for you if your brain is on the fritz and weird glitchy things are happening. I think it's really important to distill the myth that brain fog is like foggy. I'd always heard menopause or perimenopause symptoms being described. I don't feel like the term brain fog does it justice, because as a mom of 5, I feel like that's what happens when you're really overtired, when you're not sleeping a lot because you're waking up a lot with kids. You're sort of a little spacey, or your brain's not firing on all cylinders. But this was not that. This was blank spaces for words that I totally knew that I knew, or websites that I used all the time. I just couldn't remember the name of the website, not even a little bit. So I would have to like Google around things. Website for car rental deals. It was like playing a weird game. There was just a blank where the word was supposed to be. It wasn't that I couldn't put my finger on the word. It was that I wanted to use the word for shelf, and the word for shelf was not able to be accessed. So you can imagine how frightening that was. And it got better for me once I started attending to the fact that my estrogen and other hormones were tanking. It's not easy to get prescriptions for HRT here, but the way that I worked around that was I started taking birth control pills. I did a lot of research about longevity and brain health and keeping my brain protected against Alzheimer's. Part of that was just dealing with perimenopause symptoms, is what it really was in the end. I went into this big deep dive, and I learned that taking COC birth control, which has both estrogen and progesterone, COC I know is the one that was studied for both preventing osteoporosis, helping you with bone density and health. It's helping even out your estrogen, and your estrogen's not like going like this all the time, but you're getting the steady flow of the protective benefits of estrogen. That's why taking birth control pills can help with brain health during perimenopause and beyond. There are certainly other ways, like HRT patches and stuff like that. Talk to your doctor. I am not a medical professional, but I did want to share with you how much my estrogen tanking was affecting my ability to remember things and my ability to feel like my brain was doing okay and wasn't on fire. I was also experiencing extreme mood swings, anger, like out of body anger. I had a teenager who was really struggling at the time with speaking in a kind way. There were reasons that I was angry, but the intensity of the anger was frightening to me. So what I began doing to help my brain was I started taking birth control. I took one that has a lower amount of estrogen. It's called Kelzy. I don't know if that's a thing in the States, but the reason that I took that lower dose of estrogen birth control is because when I would go off of it for the few days per month, I would get migraines because of the drop in estrogen. This is something to work with your doctor on. Having birth control, I primarily was taking it for like protective properties for my brain, but I also was taking it because it was easy to have that conversation with my gynecologist, because women in their mid 40s who have a bunch of teenager and young adult children often don't want to have any more babies. It was not hard to have her supporting me taking birth control, which evened me out both emotionally. I've been like appropriately angry, like healthfully angry about things in the world that should make us all angry, not totally losing my mind, brain on fire angry, where I felt out of control. Also, two other things that really help are supplements that have been extensively studied for not only perimenopause symptoms, but these supplements help with Alzheimer's prevention, anxiety and depression, with ADHD symptoms. And these are things that have been studied. And so I started noticing that there were some things that you could do to help all of those symptoms. And one is omega-3s. So I've regularly been taking omega-3s since that time, a couple of years ago. And I've also been taking Magteen is the brand, but it's Magnesium L-threonate. And the way that that magnesium is different than other magnesiums is it crosses the blood-brain barrier. And so that's why it affects brain health in such a good way. Studies show that it's protective from a memory standpoint. Those are the three things that I have done, like supplement-wise or medically, to help my brain. I don't lose words anymore. I've noticed when I am not consistent with taking my omegas and my magnesium L-threonate, I've noticed that my recall with some words takes longer. Also, if I am low on sleep. So sleep is extremely important for brain health. One of the biggest things that you can do preventative-wise for Alzheimer's is getting sleep. So that's worth mentioning because I actually have to take a different thing to help me sleep solid. And I'm fine with that. I mean, I know some people don't like taking medicines or don't like taking supplements, but for me, having a mom who's 75 and doesn't remember my husband anymore and doesn't recognize me sometimes, only at the age of 75, I mean, I'm willing to do whatever I need to do for prevention. I take trazodone for sleeping. Having 5 kids is a lot. Having kids with disabilities is a lot. We have a high needs family. And so for me, getting sleep has been the most noticeable thing that helps me manage my life. But as far as brain goes, there are plenty of studies that show the benefits of omega-3s and magnesium L-threonate. And, you know, I do think it can be really overwhelming at this stage of life, the number of things that we feel like we're supposed to be doing, all the protein and the weightlifting and the weighted vests and, you know, here's the 45 supplements. So I don't want to pressure you and I don't want to overwhelm you. That's why I just mentioned a few different things that have really made a difference for me, specifically for memory and brain fog. I really hope hearing those specific supplements and interventions helps you. In addition, when I was seeing the overlap between perimenopause, HELPs, and ADHD and anxiety and depression and longevity, some of the best things that you can do to reduce the negative symptoms that come in all of those categories: nature. Exposure to nature kept coming up in studies as very helpful for all of those struggles. getting exposure to nature, walking, those are things that you can do and habit stack both of those. So you can go walking in nature. Basically, like any amount of walking that you can do is great. I think that the studies notice their positive side effect from maybe 6,000 or 7,000 steps a day and up. So it doesn't have to be that magical 10,000 steps a day number. I know that that can be really discouraging. I think that with any of these things, I would really encourage you to just do what you can. Something is better than nothing. So if you can go for walks in nature, those two things make an outsized impact in reducing anxiety and ADHD symptoms and perimenopause symptoms, and they increase your brain health in the long run. These are simple things that you can do to protect your brain that feel really doable and like happy. When I was studying all of this, I made a PDF that I'm going to put in my description. It's just showing you the habits or the interventions that studies have shown to make a really good impact in all the areas that I was mentioning. So I tried to make a really simple, researched visual for you. So I hope that that helps you. What does this have to do with my 44 days, friends? What I'm going to say about that, this is day 5 of 44 days and 44 ways that I built a life. I love it because I don't remember what the name of my thing is on a regular basis. I think being a creator sometimes and making a lot of stuff when you can't remember, like I know my mottos, but when I start a new series, it's annoying. 44 days and 44 ways that living abroad has healed me. I could have done these things that I am mentioning in America. You can absolutely do them in America. What I'm going to say is I've had so much more capacity to solve my own problems and research my own problems since I've lived abroad. And I mean, the nature here, so for that part of well-being and protective brain health and longevity and ADHD management, Portugal is so beautiful. So going for a walk is much more appealing when you live in a beautiful place. I'm excited about being outdoors just because there is a lot of beauty here, and that really helps me want to do those things. I'm Andy. I'm here to remind you that feeling alive again is worth the effort, and to encourage you to dare to truly live. I'll see you on day 6. Bye.